With all the Jimmy Butler drama behind them, will the Miami Heat find success again? Welcome in or welcome back. With the departure of Jimmy Butler, I think that the general NBA fan is pretty low on the Heat right now. And now that we have the news about Tyler Hero missing the first part of the season, I think that those fans are even lower than what they were than before. Now there are things to be happy about in the 305 for sure. Tyler Hero, once he's healthy, is at bare minimum very, very fun to watch. Bam Adebayo is still one of the best defenders in the league, even if his offensive game never gets figured out. And the Heat also have this very nice mix of very reliable vets and young pieces to incorporate on that team. The question is, will they make any big moves? Time will tell. I do want to talk about their potential future, and at number 20 in the draft this year, they picked up Kasper Siakatjonas. And I think that Kasper's was probably my favorite individual draft choice outside of Cedric Coward for the Grizzlies and Javon Small of also the Grizzlies. Coming into the draft, he was touted as this top 5 talent and for some reason fell all the way to 20. And we never really got a reason as to why he fell. We didn't know if there was an injury that wasn't reported. We don't know if there was any behavioral issues. But if any team is going to fix potential issues, it's going to be Heat culture. Now, I already thought this before, but especially with the Tyler Hero news, I think that Kasperis is going to get a ton of playing time early on. Because when you look at this roster, the guard room is pretty thin. Now, of course, they have guys like Davion Mitchell and Norm Powell, both that we'll get to in a minute, but neither of them are facilitators or floor generals. Last year, Illinois, he averaged 15, 6, and 5, and while his turnovers were a lot higher than I would have liked, I think that he's going to have the opportunity to have the ball in his hands a lot and work through some of those mistakes. And depending on how the rest of the year looks for Miami, I really wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about him as this sneaky dark horse candidate for Rookie of the Year. Now, he won't win it, obviously, but he'll be at least in conversations for it. Now let's talk about the re-signings in Davion Mitchell, and God, do I love Davion Mitchell. I very much have favorite archetypes in the league, and this bulldog of a defender and a guard is at the top of that list. In only 30 games for the Heat last year, he averaged 10 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and shot an astounding 44% from 3. Now, it wasn't pretty limited attempts. Mind you, it was about 3 attempts a game, but I think in his very limited time in Miami so far, he's already proven that he can be a staple in this Heat culture atmosphere. Because I've seen him lock up Luka, I've seen him have 30-point signature games, and I'm convinced that he's going to be this Jalen Suggs type for the Miami Heat for a very long time. The Heat also have 2 additions in Simone Fontecchio and Norman Powell. And as much as I like Simone Fontecchio, I think it's just time to call it. He's going to be 30 years old next year, and with all the things that I do like about his game, I think that's just in theory now. After a really successful 23-24 season where he averaged 15 points a game, very limited games for what it's worth, everyone kind of expected him to take that next leap, and he never did. He played 75 games last year and only averaged 6 points a game. Now, of course, I think that he could be a really solid role player. I think that Spo could get the best out of him, but I don't see this high-level contributing role player in him like I did a couple years ago. Norm Powell, on the other hand, could be a really interesting piece for this team. After 2 years in 6th Man of the Year conversations, and then after the departure of Paul George, Norman Powell really proved that he could be a real player in this league if given the opportunity. And had he not missed too many games last year, I'm sure that he would have very easily walked away with the most improved player. Now that he's in Miami and now that Tyler Hero is injured, I think it's going to be Norman Powell hoops for a couple months at least. After averaging 22 a night last year while not being the number 1 option, mind you, I think that because of all the injuries and because there is a lack of firepower in Miami right now, I think that there's a real scenario for at least a couple months. We're talking about Norman Powell averaging 30 a night. Now, can he sustain that when Tyler Hero comes back? Probably not, but it will be a magical couple of months. Now, of course, their biggest departure of the entire year was Jimmy Butler, but their departures of this offseason were lesser than that. Heat culture had to say goodbye to Kyle Anderson, Haywood Highsmith, Kevin Love, and Duncan Robinson. And with all due respect to Kyle Anderson and Haywood Highsmith, I just don't think that their impact is going to be missed a ton. Kyle just wasn't there long enough to be missed. And with Haywood Highsmith, as much as I love him, he's Wheeling University's finest, I think that he is just a cog in the machine, and I think that Spo is going to find another player to fulfill that role that he was playing. And I think that Kevin Love's time in Miami is going to unfortunately end up as unmemorable. I would also make the argument that Kevin Love's most memorable moments in a Heat jersey were actually him on Instagram during this whole Jimmy Butler saga. And now that the Heat have moved on from Jimmy Butler, it kind of makes sense to move on from some of that old guard like Kevin Love. I am interested to see in where he'll end up, but at the end of his time in Miami, there just wasn't a whole lot of talent or production to replace. Duncan Robinson's departure did shock me a little bit though. Had this departure happened last year or the year before last, when it was very rocky and he had to work his way back into the rotation, I wouldn't have been surprised at all, because Duncan Robinson has always been in Miami Heat trade rumors, and whenever they have a rough stretch, he always seems to be the first guy that catches the blame for some reason. I think at the end of the day, Duncan Robinson just wanted a fresh start, and with the way that the Detroit Pistons play basketball, jacking up a ton of three-pointers, I feel like he just found a home there. And of course, he did go to Michigan, so it'll be nice to have that little quasi-reunion. I think that his productivity in Miami will be the toughest to replace, but I'm also sure that guys like Tyler Hero and Norm Powell will absolutely not mind shooting the ball more. And when we get to the brass tacks for the season this year, I think it's pretty inarguable that there are at least 7 or 8 teams that are better than the Miami Heat are right now. So unfortunately, that does look like it means another play-in spot for the Miami Heat. The question we have to ask now is, does Pat Riley want to do that? In my opinion, probably not if they don't have a big star. Over the last couple of years, they've been able to get away with just sneaking into the play-in spot because they had a demon in weight in Jimmy Butler. This year, not so much. I think that Pat Riley is way more likely to rebuild or at least reshuffle the deck than to take this roster exactly how it is and leading them into a 9th or 10th seed. And I know that Pat Riley is also into big game hunting. There's been a bunch of reports that say that they want to land Kevin Durant if he doesn't sign an extension in Houston. So he still has that in him. But if the Heat underperform this year, I think it only ends in one of 2 ways. One, they go big game hunting and find the next disgruntled superstar, whether that be a Giannis or a Donovan Mitchell. Or 2, they finally commit to a rebuild, trade Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, and start over. But do you think the Heat can surprise some people? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're down there, check my description. I've got a link tree with all of my socials: Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. I am everywhere. I also have a Discord community that I would love for you to be a part of. That's going to do it for me today. Be on the lookout for your favorite team in this series. Be kind. Tell somebody you love them. And I'll see you in the next one.
Barely scraping by. Trying to stop puffing. I'm trying to be one of the greats.